Hi, Robbins. How are you? Good, good. Well, we're going to start talking a little bit about friendship, which is exactly how we started our year. I wanted to remind you of some of the things you said to me. When I asked you the question, tell me some things that mean you're being a good friend, here is what the Robin said. We share, which is great. You share with your friends. So if you're playing with a toy and somebody else wants a turn, you give them a turn, right? You said that we say hello when we see a friend. That is very friendly. And you always do it. When somebody walks into the room, you say, hello, Amelie. Hello, Willie. We help. Robbins, you do help. You help me all the time. When it's time to clean up, what do? You do your job and you clean up. When we're in circle time and it's time to do the job chart or we're doing the uh, calendar, you come up and you do that. When it's time to play a game, does everybody stand up and join in? You sure do. That's friendly. This is an important one. We say sorry. So if you run into somebody by mistake or if you accidentally knock over somebody's building, what do you say? You say sorry. And I know that you always do that. I'm proud of the friends that you are. This is the most important one. What do Robins do? You're right, Robins. Robins include. If a friend is not playing with anybody and comes over and says, hey, can I build your ship with you? What do you say? You say, sure, because you're Robin and Robins include. I'm so proud of you. Robbins, I've got a good book for you today about friends, but first, why don't we sing some of the songs that we're going to sing on Moving Up Day? Let's start with Falling Leaves. Everybody up. Here we go. Falling, falling, falling leaves. Mother Nature, did you sneeze? Ah, some are yellow, some are red, some are falling on my head. Falling, falling, falling leaves. Mother Nature, did you sneeze? Achoo! And the next song you decided that we're going to sing is Make New Friends. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. A circle is round, it has no end. That's how long you're gonna be my friend. Nicely done, Robbins. And then we have Jingle Bells. Many of our friends wanted to sing Jingle Bells. Why not? Here we go. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hooray! Nicely done, Robbins. The next song that you decided that we're going to sing is Skinamarink. Here we go. Skinamarink-a-dink-a-dink, skinamarink-a-doo. I love you, and I do. Skinamarink-a-dink-a-dink, skinamarink-a-doo. I love you. I love you in the morning and in the afternoon. I love you in the evening underneath the moon. Oh, skinamarink-a-dink-a-dink, skinamarink-a-doo. I love you. You are terrific. I love you. We'll see you next time. I love you. You. Boop, boop, ba doo. Yeah. Nice, Robbins. The next one that you want to sing is You Are My Sunshine. So here we go. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Nicely done, Robbins. Oh boy, here we go. Halloween Way is the last one you wanted to sing, and many of you wanted to sing it. So here it goes. It's first going to be ghost eating French toast. Then it's going to be a witch scratching an itch. And then it's going to be a spider drinking apple cider. So let's do it. Ready? Down Halloween Way, where the pumpkins grow, to the haunted house I dare not go, for if I do, my mummy would say, did you ever see a ghost eating French toast? Down Halloween Way, down Halloween Way, where the pumpkins grow, to the haunted house I dare not go, for if I do, my mummy would say, did you ever see a witch scratching an itch? Down Halloween Way, where the pumpkins grow, to the haunted house I dare not go, for if I do, my mummy would say, did you ever see a spider drinking apple cider? Down Halloween Way, where the pumpkins grow, to the haunted house I dare not go, for if I do, my mummy would say, Happy Halloween, down Halloween Way. Nicely done, Robbins. I like those stories. I like those songs too. You did a good job of picking. Well, let's read about two good friends, Frog and Toad. You might know these stories. This is a chapter book. Spring. Frog ran up the path to Toad's house. He knocked on the front door. There was no answer. Toad, Toad, shouted Frog. Wake up, it's spring. Blah, said a voice from inside the house. Toad, Toad, cried Frog. The sun is shining, the snow is melting. Wake up. I'm not here, said the voice. Toad was kind of hibernating and didn't want to wake up. Let's see. Frog is very excited to see his friend, though. Frog walked into the house. It was dark. All the shutters were closed. Toad, where are you? Called Frog. Go away, said the voice from a corner of the room. Toad was lying in bed. He had pulled the covers over his head. Frog pushed Toad out of bed. He pushed him out of the house and onto the front porch. Toad blinked in the bright sun. Help, said Toad. I cannot see anything. He's not ready to wake up, I don't think. Don't be silly, said Frog. What you see is the clear, warm light of April, and it means that we can begin a whole new year together. Think of it, said Frog. We will skip through the meadows and run through the woods and swim in the river. In the evenings, we will sit right here on this front porch and count the stars. You can count them, Frog, said Toad. I will be too tired. I'm going back to bed. Toad's not ready to wake up yet. Toad went back into the house. He got into the bed and pulled the covers over his head again. But Toad, cried Frog, you will miss all the fun. Listen, Frog, said Toad. How long have I been asleep? You have been asleep since November, said Frog. Well then, said Toad, a little more sleep will not hurt me. Come back again and wake me up at about 1/2 May. Good night, Frog. But Toad, said Frog, I will be lonely until then. Toad did not answer. He had fallen asleep. Frog looked at Toad's calendar. The November page was still on top. Frog tore off the November page. He tore off the December page. He tore off the January page, the February page, and the March page. When he came to the April page, Frog tore off the April page too. What comes after April? May. Yep, you're right. Then Frog ran back to Toad's bed. Toad, Toad, wake up, it's May. What, said Toad? Can it be May so soon? Yes, said Frog. Look at your calendar. Toad looked at the calendar. The May page was on top. Why, it is May, said Toad, as he climbed out of bed. Then he and Frog ran outside to see how the world was looking in the spring. I think Frog did a little tricking, don't you? He tricked Toad. Why did he trick Toad? Because he misses him so much, you're right. This chapter is called The Story. One day in summer, Frog was not feeling well. Toad said, "Frog, you are looking quite green." "I always look green," said Frog. "I am a frog. Today you look very green." "Even green for a frog," said Toad. "Get into my bed and rest." Toad made Frog a cup of hot tea. Frog drank the tea, and then he said, "Tell me a story while I am resting." Toad is being a good friend. He is helping his friend when he's not feeling well, right? "All right," said Toad. "Let me think of a story to tell you." Toad thought and thought, but he couldn't think of a story to tell Frog. "I will go out on the front porch and walk up and down," said Toad. "Perhaps that will help me think of a story." Toad walked up and down on the porch for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Sometimes you can think of a story, sometimes you can't. Then Toad went into the house and stood on his head. "Why are you standing on your head?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I stand on my head, I will think of a story." Toad stood on his head for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad poured a glass of water over his head. "Why are you pouring water over your head?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I pour water over my head, it will help me to think of a story." Toad poured many glasses of water over his head, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. He's trying really hard to be a good friend. Then Toad began to bang his head against the wall. "Why are you banging your head against the wall?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I bang my head hard enough, it will help me think of a story," said Toad. "I'm feeling much better now, Toad," said Frog. "I do not think I need a story anymore." "Then you get out of bed and let me get into it," said Toad, "because now I feel terrible." Frog said, "Would you like me to tell you a story, Toad?" "Yes," said Toad, "if you know one." Why do you think Toad is feeling not so great? Do you think it's because he was banging his head and pouring water on his head? "Once upon a time," said Frog, "there were two good friends, a frog and a toad. The frog was not feeling well. He asked his friend the toad to tell him a story. The toad could not think of a story. He walked up and down the porch, but he could not think of a story. He stood on his head, but he could not think of a story. He poured water over his head, but he could not think of a story. He banged his head against the wall, but he still could not think of a story. Then the toad did not feel so well, and the frog was feeling much better. So the toad went to bed, and the frog got up and told him a story. The end." "How was that, Toad?" said Frog. But Toad did not answer, because he had fallen asleep. All right, here's one more. This is called The Lost Button. Toad and Frog went for a long walk. They walked across a large meadow. They walked in the woods. They walked along the river. At last they went back home to Toad's house. "Oh, drat," said Toad. "Not only do my feet hurt, but I have lost one of the buttons on my jacket." I think Toad doesn't like it when things go wrong. "Don't worry," said Frog. "We will go back to all the places where we walked. We will soon find your button." And they walked back to the large meadow and began to look for the button in the very tall grass. "Here is your button," cried Frog. "That is not my button," said Toad. "That button is black. My button was white." Toad put the black button in his pocket. His button is still lost. A sparrow flew down. "Excuse me," said the sparrow. "Did you lose a button?" "I found one." That is not my button," said Toad. "That button has 2 holes, and my button has 4 holes." Toad put the button with 2 holes in his pocket. They went back to the woods and looked on the dark paths. Here is your button, said Frog. That is not my button, said Toad. That button is small, and my button was big. Toad put the small button in his pocket. He's getting quite the collection of buttons, but none of them are the one that he's looking for. A raccoon came out from behind a tree. I heard that you were looking for a button, he said. Here is one that I just found. That is not my button, wailed Toad. That button is square, and my button was round. Toad put the square button in his pocket. Frog and Toad went back to the river. They looked for the button in the mud. Here is your button, said Frog. That is not my button, said Toad. That button is thin, and my button was thick. What do you think Toad did with the button? Put it right in his pocket. You're right. In a minute. Oh, my pages are sticking, Robbins. Okay. Toad was getting very angry. He jumped up and down and screamed, "The whole world is covered with buttons, and not one of them is mine." Toad ran home and slammed the door. There, on the floor, he saw his white, four-holed, big, round, thick button. "Oh," said Toad, "it was here all the time. What a lot of trouble I've made for Frog." I think he's feeling a little bad that he screamed and got angry when Toad was trying to help him, right? Toad took all of the buttons out of his pocket. He took out his sewing box down from the shelf. Toad sewed the buttons all over his jacket. The next day, Toad gave his jacket to Frog. Frog thought it was beautiful. He put it on and he jumped for joy. How does Frog look? Very happy. None of the buttons fell off. Toad had sewn them on very well. Can you see all the buttons? That was a very kind thing for Toad to do, right? His friend helped him, and then he wanted to do something nice for his friend. Did you like those stories, Robbins? Okay, next time I see you, we're going to read a few more Toad and Frog stories, and we're going to do a little frog art. Bye, Robbins. I miss you. Have a great day.